Gav, you okay?
I'm very good, mate. Very good. Everything's flying. Podcast is flying. You keep
Amazing.
showing up. You keep showing up for the episodes. You know that was my real big concern. I mean, is this guy is going to give up after a few? So you're
I'm
still
enjoying
here.
myself. I don't feel like the Vicky replacement anymore. I feel like I'm my own man now. Let's go.
You're on, man.
Yeah.
Like, mum, I've done it.
So yeah, I'm chilled. I'm chilled. Is this a bonus episode or is this just an episode? I don't know. Should I have asked you that before we came on air?
You should. We should probably get better at this. Right? All the conversation we have don't need to be recorded. You know, we could do. There could be some.
I'm learning. You're my teacher.
There could be some forward planning with this. The truth is, the listeners will decide. Ultimately, if we are going to keep showing up and having chats and getting a couple of episodes recorded, we will end up with a bank of too many. And also, with the amount of questions that are coming in, there's probably a few episodes in that. And then again, if it was wanted, we probably could do Q&A episodes. So whether some are dropped in between, if the momentum keeps building, if the downloads keep coming in, it's a bit like as bad as the whole thing self-imposed or these need to be 25, 30 minutes. Didn't really make any sense. We only said it was going to be one a week because maybe that's all we thought people would be interested in.
Yeah.
If there's scope to drop the odd bonus one, then I fine. So I will.
Yeah, give us your feedback. We want to know what
Give
people
us your
think,
feedback,
don't we?
like, subscribe, feedback, reviews, do it all.
Yeah.
Questions,
Yeah.
which this is James's favourite part. He loves a question. This boy.
I do like the questions. I like the questions. So this is from Luca Power. If you could go back to when you started, what's the first or most important piece of advice you'd give your past self?
See, I wish you actually let me in on the questions before you asked them because some of them are quite powerful right off the bat.
Do you want me to go first so you got a chance
please go first.
to think about it? I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm on some like meditation podcast, but because this is like a lesson for life, really. But all the shit that's what I would tell myself is all the shit that you get stressed about, you won't remember 2 months later why you even bothered about it. So it's a really stressful job, and not just because of all the booking stuff that we've talked about. You're risking a huge amount of money every year, desperate for sales, and one of our mantras at our festivals is it'll be fine. If I say to Simon, I'm worried about something, he says it'll be fine. If I say to Neil Marfall, who does our water, he puts in the water at the festival, I say, Neil, this is really stressing me out. He says, mate, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And it's like, basically, I wish I'd just known it will be okay. We know what we're doing. Work hard, use your brain, trust your, I don't want to sound too cheesy here, but I love festivals and I love music. So just trust yourself to do a good music festival and it will be fine.
That is solid. And if we're going to go like full IKEA poster, then I'll follow suit then. And
lovely.
I was told right at the start, 23-year-old Gav, look, believe in yourself, but not in a cheesy, I just believe in yourself, because I don't believe in, my mum's terrible for like, what's for you won't go past you. I don't know if that's a saying that they say in England, but it basically means that everything's fate. And I hate that. I disagree with it entirely. I feel that if you live that mantra, nothing will be for you because you'll never get anything and it's not going to fall in your lap. So you better work for it. What I mean is believe in, there's maybe 10, 15, maybe 15, not as many as 15, but there's certainly more than 10 years of Damnation where I wasn't trying to be anybody else, but it was definitely feeling that imposter syndrome doing this. And there always will be, I think, to a degree. Whereas how are Download doing it? How are Hellfest doing it? How are Wacken doing it? Or Glastonbury? Like, how do people present themselves? How are press releases written? I mean, even despite the fact that I'm better at writing the press releases than most of the people that are doing them these days anyway. But it never had a voice. A proper, the way it is in the last 5-6 years of Damnation, is just, there's no, the Gavin you get, or the presentation of Damnation, the way it's put together, or the way it comes across Facebook, is the way that I am with my life. It's the way that I am with my parents. It's the way I was when I was a newspaper editor. It's the way I'm in a football field. You know, it's like, I feel that at the very start, it was like, oh, there's a way that a promoter should be, or a voice that promotes put stuff. And a lot of it's just wanky bullshit. I mean, this whole, oh, we're creating this and talking about booking bands like it's brain surgery. I mean, like, ultimately, booking bands is only difficult by the personnel. It's not a difficult job. It's the easiest job of the entire festival is booking it. When you think about the insurance and the fencing and the portaloos and getting the tents and the production, I mean, booking the bands is the easy bit. And I'm saying that as a guy, that's my job at Damnation. So I wish I told myself back then, look, don't try to be anybody else. Even though I don't feel like I did that massively, I'd like to have just come into Damnation at the very start with the confidence of saying, right, this is how it is, and this is how I am. And ultimately it'll fail or succeed in that. And I feel like Damnation in the last 5 or 6 years has seen more success because people have identified that whole ticket tracker and the transparency and cut through all the bullshit. And I should maybe have done that a bit quicker. Thanks, Luca, for starting us off deep and meaningful.
Yeah, mate. That's deep. That is deep and meaningful. Fucking hell. Okay. Here's a good one. I like this question. This is from, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, Ettore Mani. I was wondering, how can an independent band with great music, live show, image, etc., but with zero push from labels, booking agents, and a small following, get considered for festival appearances, if at all possible, without such support? So basically, the question is, if you haven't got the backing of industry people like managers and agents, how do you get on festivals? How do you get on Damnation?
Well, see, to be honest, I would say the whole label route and everything around about it's completely overrated. I pay zero attention to bands that are on labels. I don't know anything about labels. In fact, I only started learning about labels last year when we had Church Road Record doing a stage, and then this year with Pelagic is the only time I've ever cared. The only time I have no channels with labels to. I mean, no one from a label tries to get bands on Damnation. It's done via their agent, which is a very different thing altogether. Now, is it helpful to have a relationship with an agent and then have a band presented to you? Does it cut through some of the noise because there is a million submissions into your mailbox? Yes, but are 99.9% of bands offered up by agents also not in Damnation? Yes. So you're going to have ones that just Pupil Slicer are a band when they were making all the noise going into the pandemic. I don't know if they were on a label or not. I assume they might have been a prosthetic at that point, but whether they were or not would made no difference to the noise they made. The fact is, they came out swing with that album Mirrors. People paid attention. It made noise. Then it made it to like some myself, you, and then they get booked. And then there's another example that would be Dinner Celestial Birds, a great post rock band. I don't know, maybe they're in a label. Again, it make no difference. I don't even know if they've got a booking agent. But again, this is our second time in a row they're going to be on Art Tangent, and they managed to get a late slot at our pre-show last year. Just be good, and ultimately, if you're really good, you will make the noise. You will start to generate. The worst thing to do, the two worst things to do is don't play any Battle of the Bands. You play a Battle of the Bands event, and I know that you played a Battle of the Bands event for somewhere else, and then you try to go into Damnation. I'm gonna be like, you're gonna be all, I'm gonna be put off of that instantly. And ultimately, if you come to me look for a fee when I know you've played full Battle of the Band events to try and go to another festival, I'm definitely not going to pay you a fee either. So don't do that. And secondly, don't send 1,000 people onto a page to tag the band because it's completely transparent. It looks as desperate as it is, and it never gets you a slot either. So I know that saying just be good is pretty shitty advice, but you probably wrote that question thinking, well, my band is good, but I don't have the explanation of what makes your band different from a Pupil Slicer or Dinner Celestial Birds, because Dinner Celestial Birds and Pupil Slicer, when they were making noise, didn't seem to have any machine behind them either.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my thing is this. I have like a secret rule that if 2 or 3 people tell me about a band, then I start listening. And that doesn't have to be a booking agent or a manager. That can be a mate. I've got lots of friends that I talk to about music. And there's certain like people that you really trust their opinion if they tell you about a band. So you don't need all of that stuff around you. But what I would say to any bands trying to get slots on festivals is you want to play that. You're only going to probably play the festival once, right? So although I do like to book bands I really like again, but if you're only going to play it once, you want to play it at the time which is right for you, which is probably not now. It's probably in 3 years when you've recorded that album, you've done some more gigs, you've built a fan base, you've had some press, and you've actually got some way of capitalizing on getting the festival slot. I think a lot of bands want to jump the gun and just play a festival, and then it's all over, and you're like, oh well, that was fun, but it's done nothing for my sort of the career that I want as a
Yeah,
musician.
that's an excellent answer for it as well, because you know what? Despite the amount of years doing this, the amount of bands, because I try to get back to bands to say no, because it's like, what a shitty position to be in, to be an aspiring band looking up to a festival like Damnation, desperate to go on it, and you can't even get an answer for the guy that books the bands. It's not always possible, because sometimes there is a crazy amount of submissions from all over the world with bands that have literally never played a show yet. So you just can't get back to everyone. But my advice, following on what you're saying, if you've never done a UK tour, I mean, if you have no records released, I mean, try and be realistic about it. I mean, there's a band called Distant from Holland who opened our second stage. They've got 250,000 monthly Spotify playlists. They have toured Europe 2 or 3 times, selling out £200 to £300, 300 cap rooms. They opened our second stage.
Yeah.
It's like, if you haven't played outside Bristol and you've got 2 songs on an EP, it's unlikely. And I don't want to go back to you and tell you, listen, your band's just not big enough. Because I don't even believe in the whole term big enough anyway. Because the whole point of the headliners, as we've discussed, is they have to sell the tickets. The bands that are booked for the rest of Damnation is just to make Damnation great. So it's not about just being, oh, are you big enough? It's like, have some, like, see the bigger picture. You know what I mean? Think of every band. You think, how can Andrews not get a slot in Damnation? How can I've asked 3 times? Think of some of the bands that have established themselves, and like there's Palm Reader, for example. Palm Reader never played Damnation. Not because I didn't like them, just could never get them on. There was never a slot available. There's Grave Messiah, or whatever they're called, the great death metal band for London. Every time I think about booking them, I'm like, we should get them this year, and it doesn't happen. Unfathomable Ruination. Jesus, my names are there all over the place. Another great band. If it just happened at the right time, they would be on there.
Yeah.
But they're not, and it's not because the bands are crap or the bands don't have big profiles and haven't played a dozen festivals across Europe. It's just there's not a lot of slots to go around. So, don't beat yourself up when you're not able just to jump straight on an up tangent or Damnation when you've played a couple of shows.
And I mean, there are thousands of bands. So you're competing over a small number of small band slots with thousands of others. So it is really tough. Basically, just go out there and play gigs, have fun, write better songs, and eventually, the really good bands they rise up. Yeah, they do. They really do. I know that sounds like bollocks, but Rolo Tomasi were always going to rise to the top. You know, Bosk were always going to rise because these bands are fucking great, and it takes a long time to get great, and it's a lot. I don't think people realize enough. I used to manage bands and found it quite a frustrating experience. And in fact, one of them messaged me today to say how much he was enjoying the podcast. So he's probably listening now, thinking, "Yeah, that was me," and he's right, it was him. But you basically, as a band, you've got to go out there and write more songs, play more gigs, and you treat it like a job and work your ass off. It's, even though if you're a post metal band, it's not going to be a job, is it? Probably, but
even if you get by, I suppose that's, and I take it that's not what it meant, but a lot of people understand that ultimately. I mean, how many promoters, full-time promoters, are there in the UK? Not many. I mean, how many UK bands in this metal scene? I mean, how many full-time agents, how many full-time managers when we're talking about the scene that we're from? Not many. So, not everybody's just going to go out tomorrow and just make a career out of this. But
no.
If you are great, you are going to get noticed at some point. You will come across a radar. It's not that difficult to get noticed by us because we're listening to absolutely everything. But don't think there's a quick route. Don't play Battle of the Bands. Don't try and submerge a festival's page with lots of tags. It doesn't work. You can see what's happening. It's never worked before. It will not it'll not work future. So just keep playing away. And talk about bands who have risen to the top. Mogwai.
Yes, Mogwai.
No, worth an episode on itself. Now, I thought this beforehand, but it was a question that got posed today. I think it was in the YouTube channel. Somebody had basically wrote, like, Jesus used to, when he's done the previous episodes for Damnation Versus, never shut up about Mogwai, and now Mogwai are booked, and he's not even talking about them. So
we all talked about.
So here's the reason, because we were going to come in at like I didn't want to talk too much about this. I just want to listen. How's this band as Unicorn finally became available? You finally got the band. Them and Mars Volta were the two that were always the two to get. Mars Volta are still out there. It will happen one year, but you finally got for year 10 Mogwai. Was it planned all along?
Yeah. Planned for year 10 on the Saturday night all along. No, I mean, just the background to this is that we originally started a festival in 2013, which you would call a post-rock and math rock festival, I think, at that time. You certainly wouldn't call it that now. And when you looked around at the big bands in the scene, it was like, yeah, I want to book post-rock, I want to book Godspeed, I want to book Explosions, I want to book Mogwai, and Sigur Rós. But and we've had Explosions and Godspeed, and Mogwai felt like they were the most requested every year. They were the band that people actually wanted. It became this like thing where a Mogwai. The Mars Volta is a totally different thing because that's like literally my own personal obsession. I'm telling everyone you want the Mars Volta, whereas Mogwai was really the audience telling us we want them. So as we've spoken about on other podcasts, your relationship with booking agents is really important. And I had no relationship with Mogwai's agent, and I just made increasingly big offers over the years, way above what I was offering for any other bands, and I never got any response. I wanted to go for a beer or a coffee, I wanted to have a phone call, just never got anything. Sometimes I got a reply saying band's not available, but then people started to say to me, like, oh yeah, I was at a talk the other day with Stuart Braithwaite from Mogwai, and I asked the question, why have you never played Arctangent? And he'd say, we've never been offered to play Arctangent. And I'm like, what? So I spent fucking 9 years making them offers, and they've never actually seen them. And it was more than one person told me about that they really were unaware of the festival, because I'd always convinced myself that Mogwai didn't really want to be associated with post rock. You know, all the big post rock bands don't like being called post rock. They like to be just a genreless band or whatever. Yeah. So excuse me. I think I just basically given up. And then they changed agents, and I was randomly, it's the same booking agent that does Explosions in the Sky. And I was randomly having a conversation with him about Explosions in the Sky, playing Arctangent in 2024. And I said to him, do you know this thing about Arctangent and Mogwai? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, look, everyone jokes about it. We should have Mogwai. It's like the thing everyone says has to happen. Mogwai, Arctangent. And I just laid it out to him. And what I said was, if Mogwai wants to get paid a shitload of money and be treated like gods for a day and have the fucking loudest cheer they're going to get all year, and people actually get it. This is not like playing on the main stage on like a tent at Glastonbury, or even playing at some amazing festival like Primavera. It's not going to be that. It's going to be so dedicated and attentive an audience. They're going to fucking love it. And we'll pay them loads of money, and they live in the UK. So why? I don't really understand. And he said to me, yeah, that is a good point. Let me ring the manager, and I'm just going to tell him what you told me. And then that was it, right? So then the conversation went dead. I was chatting to the guy again a few weeks later about Explosions, which was nearly confirmed. And he goes to me, oh yeah, did I ever come back to you about Mogwai? And I was like, no, you didn't. And
the nonchalance of this is giving me anxiety.
and I was like, I didn't chase you because no one has ever come back to me about Mogwai in the last 10 years. It's always a conversation that just drifts off into the ether. So I didn't bother chasing it. I assumed they weren't interested. And he's like, oh yeah, they were interested. And I was like, okay. And he's like, yeah, they said they're not available for the next couple of years. So the only one they could do is 2024. Have you got any headliner slots left? And I'm like, no, I haven't. So with a bit of jiggery pokery and upsetting a few bands and just like making a Mogwai sized hole in the lineup, it went from that. So that's like the culmination of 10 years of conversations. And literally 2 weeks later, it was a done deal.
Aye.
I sent him a text saying, "Is this money in the right ballpark?" He said, "Yes, it is." I sent him the offer, and he confirmed it. And fucking hell, I was just like, "Oh, that was easy." And
And
now, as you alluded to at the start, I now look like some sort of genius that's been planning it all along. 10th year, final day of the festival, headlined by the most requested band at the festival.
and at that point as well, the two questions about that whole fee thing is firstly, where the fuck does the does that chunk of change come from the budget after you've already confirmed what you thought was your headliners? Part one.
Well, I'm sorry if Simon's listening to this because I haven't told him, and Sarah. I've broken my band budget by the amount that Mogwai cost. um, so, but the difference between my festival and your festival is that you have a closed capacity. You cannot get bigger.
Yeah.
If I sell a few more tickets, then it's a few more tickets in a field, isn't it? So
Aye.
I don't mean there isn't a capacity, but you can make you. It's easier to stretch your band budget outdoors than it is indoors, I think. So I mean, I'm just like, you can't not do Mogwai.
No,
I
you
knew.
can't, especially when you know that wasn't going to be available for the foreseeable future as well.
Yeah.
And part two of that fee situation, right? Okay, you've just clawed an extra X amount that wasn't even in a budget, but from the overall festival budget. How did you know what to offer? If you're back to square one, really, because that's a whole like, but did I just go crazy here, or did I kind of know what when was in a ballpark with that at all?
So I didn't go crazy, but I did go big. Like it was a really big offer. It, one of the biggest offers we've. They're one of the most highly paid bands we've ever had, in the top 3 or 4, definitely. But it wasn't like a mad, stupid offer.
Yeah, you never lost your mind with it just because you're like, this is your one chance sort of thing.
No, no. But then again, the fact that he confirmed straight away would suggest maybe I've got it wrong. I mean, maybe it is a fucking stupid offer. Who knows? I mean,
Who knows?
this game is so like bonkers. But
Oh.
for me, it was like get it done. Like the thing with headliners, and we've probably talked about this before, but just getting it done is the most important thing. Get the 3 headliners. This is the first time ever that Arctangent have had 3 big headliners. I know you've said to me, or I think you said on Facebook, that you quite like the fact that we have some more nichey headline. Like one headliner will be like a really a niche headliner, or a smaller band. Whereas this year they're 3 pretty punchy ones.
Yeah,
but frankly,
and you know that for a fact because of the price you pay for them as well. You know, you can tell the difference of the bands that don't cost the same as you say the big names. And has ultimately did the fan base repay those efforts? Did those 10 years of when Mogwai went and sailed, was it the response that was expected, required, needed?
Yeah, the sales are really good for this year. Last year was our biggest ever year. I mean, the last 2, so 2023 and 2022 were about the same. This year's definitely going to beat them. We almost have beaten it already, and we've still got about 5 months to go. So, yeah, it did. I'm not giving all the credit to Mogwai. I feel like it's a solid. We've spent a lot of money across the lineup this year, so there's a lot of chunky bands. Even having someone like Baroness on the lineup, on the second line of the lineup, it feels really like a step up for us. So yeah, the sales are good. People are happy, I think. And yeah, it's a weird feeling. When you really want something.
Yeah.
Sorry to give a Man United reference to everyone that hates Man United, but Alex Ferguson used to say that basically when you win, like you might win the Champions League and it lasts for about 30 seconds or 5 minutes, and you're already like, you've moved on, and you're like, I wanted that so much.
Yeah.
Why isn't the feeling lasting for longer?
Yeah.
And like, it's weird when you get what you've sought after for 10 years, because I'm like, I feel like I should be more excited. I should be more like running around the room like, fucking hell, I cannot believe it. But yeah, it's just it's done. I'm already in fear of trying to repeat the lineup for next year.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why. Because like, there's not. I mean, we've just done that episode, haven't we? The hunt for headliners. You need to do that for 3, if you don't even include 3s, and then on top of that, after this year, finally nailing those ones. So, that's going to be tough. I mean, I feel like to give some context for the Damnation point of view, our Mogwai was bolt thrower, and especially for 2000 Trees listeners, because I've noticed there is an influx of people who are commenting that are 2000 Trees fans and attendees who might not go to Art Tangent and certainly not go to Damnation. But Bolt Thrower are an old school English death metal band who, in their own essence, were never a massive band, but they were legendary. And they were, despite being a death metal fan, they had a very DIY punk ethos and they refused to play festivals. They didn't play any festivals in the UK other than one date that was called Boat Fest. It was basically them headlining with 3 or 4 of their pals, and tickets were £5. So I'm taking Damnation as the only time they ever played a festival. In 2013, we had been asking that band to play since 2005. So again, the best part of a decade. A couple of death fests that we organised as well that they said no to. And this was part of this, could be like the whole Wild West of the book. They had a hotmail.com address to some guy, I think, that was a friend and lived in Holland. And you would email him and he would come back politely and say, not available, I'm not interested. And this happened every single year. And then it got to the end so it'd been 2000 and at some point in 2013 when I'd sent it and it was like, we'll have a chat. And that was like, see that moment where you get that text back, like, what would you mean there's a chat? So that was my Mogwai moment of, oh shit, this could actually happen, because it's usually just such a polite no, they're just not available, they're not going to do festivals. But what I was told afterwards is finally enough of their friends had played Damnation that the word did get back that Damnation, if you're going to do one, do Damnation. They had policies about price fixing for merch and the price of tickets and just really, as I say, old school DIY punk ethos. And we didn't do that. We didn't do any price fixing when it came to merch, and our tickets were 30 quid or whatever. So for whatever reason, they finally decided that. So we waited and we waited, and they got to, I don't know, the December, and you're waiting every like, is this the day we're gonna get email back? But they're just gonna be like, we'll play it or we won't play it. That's the biggest thing in the world to me, but to them it's like, we'll get back at some point. And then the weirdest thing happened. This guy get back in touch and he goes, okay, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna make them an offer, and it'll be the final offer. They're not going to push back and tell you it's not enough. So you're going to make what you think they're worth, and I'm going to take it to them. They're going to decide, and then they're going to come back and say yes or no. So then you're sitting there, because that's a proper, like, I'm desperate for this band. This is a one we want, but ultimately they were never that big. So what are they really worth? Is it worth this? And I tell you what, I went backwards and forwards, but that turned out to be the best deal I've ever done in my entire life, because I stuck to my guns, and that's before fees got crazy. And we got them for, I mean, Jesus, half the lineup, half of Damnation's main stage now plays for more than that, a lot more than that. And they came, sold 4,000 tickets, almost off their own back, completely packed the place. Their merch stall was busier than most bands' mosh pits, because, but again, for people that don't know, Bolt Thrower don't sell merch any other time except for when they play. And then when they play, they sell the merch for £10 a t-shirt. But as soon as you buy the t-shirt, it's worth 50 or 80 or 100, because it just becomes a collector's item. They said you got it. So people were queuing from the second the doors open. And again, they were just so nonchalant about it, like, I will get there. There's plenty of merch for everybody. Not quite understanding their own pulling power. You know what I mean? And when we done that, it was incredible. I mean, sadly, afterwards the drummer passed away, and then that was the end of Bolt Thrower as a band. But I tell you what, if there was, the reason I'm telling this story is because that was our Mogwai. That was us finally getting it. And if every band approached being a touring band the way that Bolt Thrower did, I'd put on Damnations every weekend. They were an absolute pleasure to work with. So I hope you get the same experience with Mogwai show up.
Yeah, I feel like we probably will. Did you? I just want to know if you got in amongst it during Bolt Thrower.
I did for a bit. I did.
Yeah, were you on top of the crowd?
I was definitely on top of the crowd at some point.
Yeah, lovely.
These years, because I say to myself as well, no, these years, absolutely not. I mean, I still did this last year. I actually ended up crowd surfing for Nathrak for a bit, but Aye, that was a big one. It really it turned out to be, it was everything. I hope this happens in Mogwai as well. The boat throw show was everything people wanted it to be. And people had seen boat throw a lot of times, but that was the best it'd ever been. It was like it built up to a bit of fever pitch. Everybody had been
Yeah,
waiting. They'd never done that festival show. They were getting the respect they deserved. Everybody was just ready for it. And it was bonkers. What a fantastic show. And
amazing.
I'm hoping for the same sort of. It won't be the same chaos, obviously, with Mogwai, but I've seen the Mogwai a lot of times, and when they're good, they're really fucking good.
Yeah, and I think also the crowd play a big part in will play a big part in this because I think everyone's going to be super excited. I mean, obviously, not everyone at Arctangent is a massive Mogwai fan, but there is a chunk of them, and I think people are like, it feels like, if you've been coming, there's a lot of people who've been to ATG like nearly every year, and if you're one of those people, I think Mogwai at Arctangent on the 10th anniversary feels like an event. So,
Aye.
yeah, I'm
What,
super super excited.
what we need to do now is get back onto that agent's text message with some money. Say, like, well, let's talk set list here, guys, because that's the thing. Is like Mogwai, I've got some absolute bangers, like some of the
Yeah,
best post rock tracks ever written. But I don't play a lot of them live of, and I've seen Mogwai in some of the weirdest situations. Like you're talking about at Teena Park. I mean, that's a hometown festival for them, a home country festival, and they played this 10,000 cap, huge big circus tent to about 500 people with Blur headlining the stage in the background, and it was
yeah,
just like, oh, this is exactly why you should be doing the likes of Art Tangent and festivals where you're going to be appreciated, because this is not the place to be. I've seen them in Paisley Town Hall. I've seen them in wee clubs, in arenas. It's like they're just, when they're on it, they are such good banding. But I don't think I've ever seen them with a crowd that's going to be quite as amped up as day four finishing Art Tangent. I mean,
yeah.
10th anniversary. It's going to be pretty special. But we need to get in there because my wife walked down the aisle to Auto Rock, the first track on Mr. Beast, and that would be an emotional one if they ever done that. 'Cause I don't think I've ever seen them play that live and
Was that
check
your
them.
choice or her choice? You didn't tell her what she had to come down,
No,
did you?
I'm not. To be fair, when you're looking at it, it was a wee bit of "This Will Destroy You." There was a bit of Mogwai. Maybe I was a wee bit persuasive back then, but it's. I mean, you can't dislike. I mean, it's just a piano led. I mean, it was absolutely class. It was like some big riff came into the middle. She's walking down the aisle. So,
Amazing. So
so
we're gonna recommend a Mogwai track for people
yes, we're
to
going to well, we're going to shout out our good friend Lou.
let's do it. He
We're presented by Lou's Brews, our good friend with the hot sauces. I don't know how many of you guys. I need to actually chase him up with this and say, look, what's happening? Are you selling out these sauces, or are people just ignoring me saying this pod 15 code and nobody's doing so? I hope you guys are checking it out. It's definitely worth it. We love the sauces. We wouldn't have even went to this guy to sponsor it back if I knew I had to read some or do some advert for some guy that I didn't believe in. So I'm hoping that he is getting the business through this, because it's certainly worth it.
yeah, he's fucking great. So please go and support him. Buy some hot sauces. I'm still waiting for mine to arrive through the post, but I believe they're on the way. So
Aye, I know when he said they were refunded, maybe he just kept hold of them.
yeah,
He's,
yeah,
he's not actually sent them. He's just like, I'll send it to people like me. And while you are feeling, and while you feel generous, please check out damnationclothing.com. Also, go and get yourself a t-shirt or two. That would be fantastic. And also, let's be honest, if people are going to damnationclothing.com and buying t-shirts to this, and then Lou comes back and tells me nobody's buying the hot sauce, I'm like, so you say, mate, so you say. Try to get a discount sponsorship in season 2. So,
amazing. Yes, we
but
can.
to wrap this one up now, hopefully this one's been a wee bit more short and sweet. We have to recommend a Mogwai track. I mean, what else could we do?
Yeah, you go first because I feel like out of the two of us, weirdly, you're even though I've spent years shouting about him, you are probably the bigger fan. I think.
I'm without doubt the bigger fan. Mogwai are a weird one, because I do think at their very best, at their very, very best, I'm not sure if there's any better post-rock bands out there. At the best, like 4 or 5 tunes I've got, they're really as good as it gets. But the issue with Mogwai is they do have a lot of filler, and they do put out catalogue of tracks. I mean, so it's difficult to keep that. It's difficult to keep that sort of standard up, but when they're good and when they're really good, Mr. Beast would definitely be an album that I'd recommend you going with the likes of Auto Rock, as I mentioned, Glasgow Megasnake, and the track that I'm picking is We're No Here, which is just an absolute post rock behemoth. It's just a slow build up. It's as heavy as post rock gets. There was a terrible Colin Farrell film, Miami Vice, I think, and the end scene he's going away in a speedboat or something in Miami, and it plays We're Not Here, and it's easily the best bit of the film. So
Right.
that is a tune. I don't think they play it live, so don't get excited about seeing that art tangent unless we can convince them otherwise. But
Yeah, well,
that's my offering. What have you got
lovely.
for us?
We'll text the agent about that one. I've chosen a song off Every Country's Son called Old Poisons. It's basically it's like Mogwai does noise rock. I mean, I am, as I've said a few times on the podcast, I don't fucking pay attention to album names and I don't pay attention to song names. I listen to so much music, but most of it's not staring at the words on the album cover or whatever. So I had to go searching to work out what song I wanted to do. But yeah, it's probably a bit of a deep cut, but it's proper like noise rock. It's not really like a nice post rock song. So yeah, check that out. I think my selection plus Gav's selection gives you a bit of a flavour for if there are
Yeah,
people here who don't know Mogwai, and there no doubt are lots of people here who don't know Mogwai. Check those out. Check those songs out.
absolutely. And that is, well, congratulations, big chap, for finally getting them. I am looking
Thanks,
forward
mate.
to standing with a pint to you. But
I'll have my shirt off, crowd surfing over the top with you during Mogwai. I promise.
You ever
No,
tried crowd surfing a
no
post
one
rock
has.
show? I think I
No,
have, and you quickly get dropped in your head. So just
mate. I'm not really a man to be crowd surfing for any fucking show. So no one's ever said, "Come on, we'll chuck you up on the audience."
guys,
Yeah.
thank you for your continued support. As James said, tell your pals, get involved in this. It seems like it's got the basis of something to do pretty well. With your support, we can continue it. Subscribe, write a review, click the stars, whatever it is you do, whatever platform you watch
Yeah.
this on, or listen to it on. And we will see you again for the next one.
Thanks, Gav. Enjoyed that.